Now, the market devil, the plague, killed all the animals. Now, so Rasha asks, if the devil killed all the animals, which animals were killed during the Barad? Who survived to die in the Barad? So Rasha says that those animals which survived were from the Yari as Devar Hashem, the one who was afraid of the word of Hashem. In the devil, also those who brought the animals indoors, those animals didn't perish. And these animals, if they were left outdoors by the Barad, these are the ones who perished. Now what I'm wondering is, why doesn't it say by the devil that the Yarei Devar Hashem, the one who was afraid of Hashem, just rushed his animals indoors? Why doesn't the Torah tell us then that, but the Torah relates that by the Barad? It should, if it happened before, it should have been mentioned the first time it happened. And Rasha mentions Hayari is Devar Hashem. Those who are afraid of Hashem, they rushed their animals into the indoors, and they weren't plagued by the Barad. So later on, by Kriyas Yamsuf, we have that the horses of Parai, Kivasus Parai B'Rbe Yefarash of Susayo B'Rachav, they all went out to pursue the Jews going out of Mitzrayim, and they were all killed in the Yamsuf. Where did the Mitzrayim have horses? Who survived the Dever? Who survived the Barad? So whose horses were they? They were from the Yari Dvar Hashem, from those who were fearful of Hashem. So Rasha just says, Rasha remarks, like parenthetically, look at the Goyesha Yari as Devar Hashem. He's a Yari as Devar Hashem, and he isn't afraid of Hashem, and he uses his horses, which survived the Barad, to pursue the Jews into the Yamsuf. You can imagine what kind of Yari Dvar Hashem those Mitzrayim were. But this bothers me. The Torah, every word of the Torah is absolute truth. If the Torah gives them the distinction of being a Yarei Dvar Hashem, of being afraid of the word of Hashem, so they're Yerei Shamayim. So why did they pursue the Jews by the Yamsuf? Didn't they know after those 10 Makis that there is reason to be fearful of Hashem? And the Torah calls him Yarei Dvar Hashem. It isn't like, an advertisement in the Jewish press or whatever, the great renowned rabbi or whatever. The Torah says Hayari is Devar Hashem. So they are actually Yereim Devar Hashem. They're fearful of Hashem. What happened to them? Where did their Yirah Shamayim leak out? She says, the Ramban explains that Moshe Rabbeinu said when Parai pleaded that he should interrupt the Barad, so he said, as I'm going to go out of the city, I'm going to pray that the vaeira should stop. Why didn't he pray in the city? So the Ramban, like he did before, by the Tzvadayim, by the Yarev, he also, Pari also pleaded that he should stop it. So, and Moshe was mispalel. So he did it within the city limits. Why did he have to go out of the city? Chasha says because there was a vaeira zara in the city. He didn't want to daven where there's a vaeira zara. But he did so by the Tzvadayim, the Yarev. Why is the vaeira an exception? So the Ramban says, because he wanted to daven a special tefillah, efreis eskapaya, raise my hands, to something very special in davening when you raise your hands. The tzaddikim weren't too commending about those people, that they raise their hands by davening like this, like an ecstasy. Keep your hands down and daven plain. Because raising your hands and davening was something which was done by the tzaddikim of olden times in the Beis Hamikdash, and it requires mesiras nefesh. It's a very big madreiga, and you can't just do some acrobatics during davening. You have to. You don't raise your hands. But this was a special tefillah with efreis eskapay. I'm going to raise my hands towards Hashem. So that's why he went out of city limits, because it's a special tefillah, and there was no vaeira zara. But the Ramban stops short at answering the question. So this gufa has to be answered. Why didn't he raise his hands with the special tefillah by the Yarav and Tzvadaya? Why did he reserve this special tefillah only for the Barad? The Medrash Tanchuma tells us that when Moshe Rabbeinu was mispalel, that the Barad should stop, it says, Umata lanitach arza. The rain, the Barad, which rained down, did not go down to the earth. It just remained where it was. But it didn't go back to Shemayim either. In other words, it remained suspended in midair, and it's still there to this very day. And it's going to go down upon the Goyim when Mashiach will come, and they're going to wage war against Mashiach. And in the period preceding that, perhaps, there's a certain Milchama that the Navi talks about. We have it in the Haftarah of Sukkot. It's called Milchamas Gog Magog. The Milchama of Gog Magog, and David HaMelech talks about this Milchama in the 2nd capital of Tehillim Lama Rakshu Goyim, where they're all going to rebel against Hashem and try to capture the city of Jerusalem, of Yerushalayim, and then this Barad, which because of the tefillah of Moshe Rabbeinu did not come down, but it remained suspended between heaven and earth, that Barad is going to come down upon the heads of all the Goyim that will try to lay siege on Yerushalayim, like the Pasuk says there in Yecheskel, and that's going to be the remains of the Barad. Umata lanitach arza. What is this Milchamas Gog Magog? We have a klal that everything which we find in pashtus and in simpleness also has a depth. There's always a pneumius. There's something in Torah. There is pneumius and pneumius and pneumius. There is deeper and deeper and deeper. We know that just preceding the real appearance of Mashiach, there will be a Milchamas Gog Magog. And this war is really going to be symbolic of another war which is going to concurrently take place during that time. A spiritual war. A war against emunah, against faith, against belief in the Rabbeinu Shalom. And the Sfara Magdashim tell us that this is going to be the real severity of the Milchemes Geigul Mageg. Our minds are going to be bombarded with thoughts of kfira, of non-believing, of not believing in Hashem. And we're going to have to struggle with these thoughts and try to relieve ourselves from them and fight against them and just wage war against these thoughts. And look for aitzes, look for ways and means how to help you out in this war by going to tzaddik and by going to chachamim and asking for eitzes on learning Torah and davening to Hashem and praying for nitzach and praying for victory against Geigul Mageg, this Amalek, this Pnimius of Sfeikus and Amunah, of doubts in belief of Hashem, with which Jews are going to be bombarded, and probably everything points to it that we're in the middle of at least this Ruchnius de Kamelchames Geigul Mageg now, because it was never before that it was so hard to be a Jew, where the majority of Klal Yisrael doesn't believe.